Hello, and welcome back to Sera English. I am so glad you are here today. Before we begin, I want to say something directly to you. If you have been learning English for months or even years and you still feel stuck, if you still feel like your English is not as good as it should be, like you understand things but cannot speak fluently, like you freeze when someone talks to you fast, like you know grammar rules but cannot use them naturally in a real conversation, I want you to know something important. There is nothing wrong with you. The problem is almost certainly not your intelligence. It is not your accent. It is not that you started too late or that English is simply too hard for you. The problem in almost every case is the method, the way you are learning. And today I am going to tell you exactly why your English stops improving at a certain point, and more importantly, I am going to tell you exactly how to fix it. This episode is different from our usual stories. Today I am speaking directly to you, as if we are sitting across from each other with a cup of tea, having an honest conversation about your English. I want you to listen carefully. I want you to take notes if you can. And I want you to come out of this episode with a real, practical understanding of what to do next. Let us begin. Our word of the episode is plateau. Plateau. Say it with me, P-L-A-T-O-H. A plateau is a flat, elevated area of land. But in English learning, and in life, a plateau means a period where progress stops, where you feel like you are working just as hard as before, but nothing is changing anymore. You are no longer going up. You are stuck on flat ground. Most English learners hit a plateau. Most of them do not know why. And most of them, sadly, give up right at the moment when a breakthrough is actually very close. Plateau. Remember this word today. Reason number 1. You are learning English, but you are not using English. This is the most common reason. And it sounds so simple that many people dismiss it. But let me explain what I mean. There is a difference between studying English and using English. Studying English means watching grammar videos, doing exercises, learning vocabulary lists, taking notes. Using English means producing something, speaking, writing, expressing a thought that you have to construct yourself in real time, without a script, without looking anything up. Most learners spend 90% of their time studying and almost no time actually using the language. And the problem with this is that studying English and using English are two completely different skills. They use different parts of your brain. They build different kinds of confidence. And one of them, studying, will only take you so far without the other. Think of it this way. Imagine someone who wants to learn to swim. They read every book about swimming. They watch videos of champion swimmers. They understand the technique perfectly, the arm movement, the breathing, the kick. They can describe it in detail. But they never get in the water. Will they be able to swim? No. Because knowing about swimming and actually swimming are not the same thing. English is exactly the same. At some point you have to get in the water. You have to speak even when you make mistakes. You have to write even when you are not sure of the grammar. You have to use the language imperfectly in order to make it more perfect over time. Here is your fix for reason 1. Starting today, spend at least 20 minutes every day producing English, not consuming it. Speak out loud to yourself. Write a journal entry in English. Describe what you did today in full sentences. Talk about a topic you care about as if you are explaining it to a friend. Record yourself on your phone and play it back. It does not matter if it is not perfect. Getting in the water is what matters. Here is an idiom. The idiom is to get out of your comfort zone. To get out of your comfort zone means to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable or nervous because it is new or difficult. Your comfort zone is the space where everything feels safe and familiar, but nothing new grows there. Speaking English when you are not ready feels deeply uncomfortable. But every time you do it, your comfort zone expands a little. The discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is growing. To get out of your comfort zone. Reason number 2, you are learning isolated words instead of phrases. This one surprises many learners. They work very hard on vocabulary. They learn 50 new words a week. They use flashcard apps. They test themselves. And yet when they try to speak, the words do not come. They freeze. They know the word but cannot find it in time. They know what they want to say, but cannot say it naturally. Here is why. When native speakers speak, they do not think in individual words. They think in chunks, phrases, combinations, patterns that they have heard and used so many times that they come out automatically, without thinking. Phrases like, it depends on, I was wondering if, the thing is, as far as I know, at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I am not sure I agree, what I mean is. These are not single words. They are complete units of meaning that native speakers store and retrieve as one piece. When you learn only individual words, you have to assemble your sentences from scratch every time you speak, like building a house brick by brick with no pre-made walls. It is slow and exhausting, and it causes the freezing that so many learners experience. The fix for reason 2 is to start learning English in phrases and sentences, not just words. When you learn a new word, do not just learn the word alone. Learn it in a complete sentence. Learn 2 or 3 common phrases that use it. Learn what words it usually goes with. For example, do not just learn the word suggest. Learn, I would like to suggest that, may I suggest something? She suggested going for a walk. The word in context, in real phrases, in the patterns that native speakers actually use. Here is a vocabulary word. The word is fluency. Fluency. Fluency does not mean speaking without any mistakes. Fluency means speaking smoothly and naturally, without long pauses, without searching desperately for words, in a way that communicates your meaning clearly and comfortably. Fluency is the goal most learners say they want. And the path to fluency is not more grammar study. It is phrase learning combined with real speaking practice. Fluency. Reason number 3. You are not listening to enough real English. Many learners listen only to English that was designed for learners, slow, clear, simplified, with basic vocabulary and simple sentences. And while this is helpful at the beginning, there comes a point where it stops being helpful. Because real English, the English that native speakers actually use with each other, sounds nothing like learner English. It is faster. It is messier. Words run together. Sounds disappear. People interrupt each other. Sentences are unfinished. Grammar is imperfect. If you only ever listen to simplified English, your ear never learns to decode real English. And then when you watch a film, or talk to a native speaker, or listen to a real podcast, it sounds like a completely different language, fast and blurred and impossible to follow. This is one of the main reasons learners feel that they are not improving even after years of study. Their ear has been trained on a version of English that does not exist in the real world. The fix for reason 3 is what language experts call comprehensible input at the edge of your ability. This means listening to real English that is slightly above your current level, challenging enough that you have to work, but not so difficult that you understand nothing. Podcasts made for native speakers on topics you find interesting. Films and series without subtitles. or with English subtitles rather than your own language. Real conversations between real people. You will not understand everything. That is fine. That is the point. Your brain is learning to work harder, to pick up context clues, to fill in gaps, to process faster. Every hour of real listening is training your ear in ways that simplified English simply cannot. Here is another idiom. The idiom is to pick something up. To pick something up means to learn something gradually and naturally, without formally studying it, usually through exposure and experience. Children pick up their first language entirely by listening and observing. You can pick up natural phrases, rhythm, and pronunciation by listening to real English consistently. To pick something up. You pick it up, it sticks to you without effort, through exposure. Reason number 4, you are afraid of making mistakes. I want to talk about this one carefully because it is perhaps the deepest reason of all. Fear of mistakes is completely natural. In school, mistakes were punished, marked in red, counted against your grade, used as evidence that you had not studied enough. So most of us grow up with a very deep, almost physical fear of getting something wrong. We would rather say nothing than say something incorrectly. But in language learning, this fear is one of the most damaging things that can happen to you. Because mistakes are not the opposite of learning. Mistakes are how learning happens. Every time you make a mistake and notice it, or someone gently corrects you, your brain forms a stronger connection. It remembers the correct form because it has experienced the contrast with the incorrect one. Mistakes are not failures. They are data. They are your brain's way of testing hypotheses about how the language works. The learners who improve the fastest are almost always the ones who are the least afraid of making mistakes. Not because they are careless, they care very much about improving, but because they understand that making mistakes in practice is how you avoid making them when it matters. Here is your fix for reason 4. Change the way you think about mistakes. Instead of hearing a mistake as proof that your English is bad, hear it as proof that your English is working, that you are trying, that you are producing, that your brain is actively testing and learning. Every mistake you make is one you are less likely to make again. Collect them like information. Be grateful for them. Vocabulary word. The word is self-consciousness. Self-consciousness means being uncomfortably aware of yourself, of how you look, how you sound, what others think of you. Self-consciousness is one of the biggest blockers in English speaking. When you are very self-conscious, you monitor every word before you say it. You worry about your accent. You imagine people judging you. This takes so much mental energy that there is almost none left for actually communicating. Self-consciousness. Reducing it through practice, through confidence, through understanding that nobody is judging your English as harshly as you are, is one of the most important things you can do. Reason number 5. You do not have a system. You are learning randomly. This is the reason that almost nobody talks about, but that affects almost every learner. Most people learn English in a scattered, inconsistent way. They watch an English video one day, skip 3 days, do a grammar exercise, forget about it for a week, watch a film with subtitles in their own language, learn 10 new words and forget 8 of them by Thursday. There is no system. There is no consistency. There is no plan. And without a system, progress is random and slow. Because language learning is not like reading a book where you can pick it up and put it down and the story waits for you. Language learning is a skill that requires regular, repeated activation. Your brain needs consistent exposure over time to move vocabulary and grammar from your short-term memory into your long-term memory, from things you know consciously into things you use automatically. The fix for reason 5 is to build a very simple, very realistic daily system. Not an ambitious one. Ambitious systems fail because life gets in the way and then you feel guilty and then you stop completely. A small, sustainable system that you actually do every day is worth infinitely more than a perfect system you only do when you feel motivated. Here is an example of what a simple daily system looks like. 15 minutes of real listening, a podcast, a short video, a scene from a series, every morning. 10 minutes of speaking out loud, narrating your day, describing something, practicing a phrase you heard. 5 minutes of writing a sentence or two in a journal, just in English, just whatever is on your mind. That is 30 minutes total. Anyone can find 30 minutes. And 30 minutes every single day, without exception, will transform your English within 6 months in a way that 3 hours occasionally never will. Here is an idiom. The idiom is to keep at it. To keep at it means to continue doing something consistently, to persevere with something over time without giving up. When learning feels slow, when progress is invisible, when motivation is low, keep at it. The progress is happening even when you cannot see it. Language builds beneath the surface, like roots growing before the plant appears. Keep at it. Reason number 6. You are comparing your English to native speakers. This one is subtle, but very damaging. When learners compare their English to the English of native speakers, people who have been speaking the language every single day since they were born, they almost always feel inadequate. They hear a native speaker and think, I will never sound like that. I will never be that fast, that natural, that effortless. And this comparison, which is completely unfair, kills motivation. Here is the truth. You do not need to sound like a native speaker. You need to communicate clearly and confidently. Those are very different goals. There are millions of highly successful, highly respected, deeply eloquent speakers of English in the world who do not sound like native speakers. They have accents. They occasionally search for a word. They are not perfect. And they communicate brilliantly. The goal is not to erase who you are. Your accent is part of your identity. It tells people where you are from, what languages you carry, what life you have lived. A person who speaks English with a beautiful accent from their own country is not failing at English. They are speaking English as a fully dimensional human being. Compare yourself only to your past self. Are you better than you were 3 months ago? 6 months ago? That is the only comparison that matters. That is the only measure of progress that is honest and fair and actually useful. Vocabulary word. The word is eloquent. Eloquent. It means expressing yourself clearly, effectively, and in a way that is moving or persuasive. An eloquent speaker chooses their words well and expresses ideas in a way that resonates with people. Eloquence is not about speed or accent or perfection. It is about clarity and expression. You can be eloquent in your second language. Many of the most eloquent English speakers in history were not native speakers. Eloquent. Reason number 7. You are waiting until you are ready. This is the last reason, and in some ways the most important. I hear this from learners constantly. I will start speaking when my English is better. I will join that conversation when I am more confident. I will apply for that job, travel to that country, make that friend when my English is good enough. And I want to say this as clearly and as kindly as I can. Your English will not get good enough by waiting. Your English will only get good enough by doing the thing you are waiting to be ready for. Confidence in English does not come before speaking. It comes from speaking. You do not become confident and then speak. You speak and then gradually you become confident. The confidence is the result, not the requirement. You cannot have the result before you do the work. You cannot feel ready before you begin. Every fluent English speaker you admire, every person whose confidence and clarity you wish you had, was once exactly where you are. They were nervous. They made mistakes. They felt embarrassed. They did not feel ready. They spoke anyway. And they spoke again. And they kept speaking. That is the entire secret. There is no other secret. There is no shortcut, no app, no method that replaces the simple, terrifying, transformative act of opening your mouth and speaking the language before you feel ready to. So, whatever it is you have been waiting to be ready for, do it now. Not when your English is perfect. Now, with the English you have today. Let us do our full review. Our word of the episode was plateau, a period where progress feels stuck and flat. We learned fluency, speaking smoothly and naturally, communicating clearly and comfortably. We learned self-consciousness, being uncomfortably aware of how you sound or appear, which blocks communication. We learned eloquent, expressing yourself clearly, effectively, and movingly. Our idioms today were to get out of your comfort zone, to pick something up, to keep at it. 7 reasons your English stops improving. 7 fixes. Let me say them one final time clearly. 1. You are studying but not using. Fix. Produce English every day. Speak, write, create. 2. You are learning words, not phrases. Fix. Learn English in chunks and patterns. 3. You are not listening to real English. Fix. Listen to native-level content every day. 4. You are afraid of mistakes. Fix. Collect mistakes like data and be grateful for them. 5. You have no system. Fix. Build a small, daily routine and do it without exception. 6. You are comparing yourself to native speakers. Fix. Compare yourself only to your past self. 7. You are waiting until you are ready. Fix. Begin now with the English you have. You are not behind. You are not too old. You are not someone for whom English is simply not possible. You are someone who has not yet found the right approach. And today, I hope that changed. Come back for episode 8. I have something else for you that I think will help. Until then, get out of your comfort zone. Speak something today. Even one sentence. Even to nobody but yourself. You are doing better than you think. I promise you that. This is Sera English. I will see you next time.